many other...
A very good day to you. You're watching WION, broadcasting from London this hour. You're with me, Katie Pilgrim. Let's get to the headlines. Saudi Arabia is facing pushback from at least 4 Arab states over plans to readmit Syrian President Bashar al-Assad into the Arab League. Morocco, Kuwait, Qatar and Yemen have refused to readmit Syria into the group. Peace talks conclude between a Saudi delegation and Yemen's Houthi rebels in Yemen's capital, Sana'a. Houthis confirm progress has been made, while Saudi Arabia is seeking a permanent ceasefire agreement with the Iranian-backed rebels. Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif dials up Iran's president to discuss Israel's violence against the Palestinians. Israel anticipates Iranian strike as Tehran observes Quds Day to protest the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem. China says it is concerned about the impact of recent policies introduced by Afghanistan's Taliban government on the rights of women. Escalating tensions between US and China as Washington says it is disappointed by China's decision to uphold the death penalty for US citizen Mark Swindon. US says that he is wrongfully detained by China. First to our top story this hour. US President Joe Biden has addressed the Parliament during his visit to Ireland, where he celebrated his Irish roots.
People of Ireland, it's so good to be back in Ireland. If you forgive the poor attempt at Irish, Táimid Seo Bhaile, I'm at home. I'm at home.
Biden also stressed the importance of building a better future, while also issuing a warning that the UK should be working closely with Ireland to protect a 25-year-old peace deal in the country.
Ireland also remembers, as I do, that peace is indispensable. Peace is the necessary foundation for progress, for growth, for unlocking the enormous potential that exists in every part of this island. This week marks a vital milestone for peace. 25 years ago, the Belfast Good Friday Agreement.
Well, with one of the longest foreign visits of his presidency, Biden also became the 4th US president to address the Irish Parliament after John F. Kennedy did it, Ronald Reagan and Bill Clinton. While starting his trip on a rather serious note on Northern Ireland, Biden has urged the leaders to restore their power-sharing government. But as soon as he crossed the border, Biden was more inclined towards sharing anecdotes of his Irish relatives and photo ops with enthusiastic locals. Biden will meet with relatives from another side of his family in County Mayo after his great-great-grandfather left Ireland in 1849. Well, Biden, he was accompanied by his son Hunter and US Secretary of State Antony Blinken during the banquet at St Patrick's Hall in Dublin Castle. Biden praised the ties between Ireland and the United States.
The word dignity seems to be used by the Irish more than any other word. I may be wrong about that. But, you know, it's always a march toward a better future. one of greater liberty, greater dignity, of greater equality and opportunity and possibility for everybody.
To the UK now, and after the UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak announced that he was making the issue of migrants arriving on small boats his top priority, many Conservative leaders were expecting a swift end to this problem. But now Sunak fails to guarantee whether his pledge will be fulfilled by the next general election. While labelling the situation as a complicated problem, Sunak said it is very important to him personally. Well, Number 10 is prepared for legal challenges to a draft piece of legislation on migrants arriving on boats. Sunak made these comments while giving an interview to an online platform, Conservative Home, where he also stressed on his delivery skills and suggested that a more united Conservative Party is making his job easier. Well, UK migration law continues to face a barrage of criticism. The UK government says the bill is important to limit the arrival of migrants on small boats from France. The bill also aims to restrict trafficking rings targeting migrants. But some Conservative lawmakers want tighter controls. Many Tories are even calling on the government to take the UK out of the European Convention on Human Rights. Well, for more on the topic, delighted to be joined right now for expertise from Dr. Nigel Fletcher, political analyst from the British capital. Nigel, good to see you. So, what do you think?
Morning.
What does Rishi do? It's a vote winner, seemingly, but it's not going down well with everybody.
No, and I think he is receiving criticism from both sides, really. On the one hand, he's got some in his party who believe that he needs to be doing more, that he needs to be taking tougher action. But then on the other side, you've had criticism from the Labour Party in opposition, but also from some within his own party, particularly about the rhetoric that's being used by his Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, who is being very hardline in terms of what she's saying. But what we've seen is that this is a problem that is not being fixed very quickly. And the interview that he's just given, I think, is something that will concern both sides, really, of the argument. Firstly, it's going to concern those who want him to deal with the issue swiftly. He's saying that it's a complex problem. Well, it clearly is, but you might think that in that case, offering a simple solution perhaps wasn't a great idea. So I think the problem of making a pledge and then saying that it may not be met by the next election is problematic for him, because it does indicate that this is going to be a fairly intractable problem. And therefore the kind of rhetoric, the hardline rhetoric that's being used on this is perhaps counterproductive. It sets expectations that perhaps he's not able to fulfill.
Mm-hmm. Realistic expectations. And as we know, the migrant situation is not a new problem in the United Kingdom. It's been sort of 10 years in the making. What's the solution, Nigel?
Well, I think if I knew that, I'd be a bit more popular than I am. I think that it's something which is going to take a much more sophisticated approach, perhaps, than is being laid out. It seems to be that there are different routes to the UK that need to be opened up. That's one of the suggestions that's been made repeatedly by critics of the government, that whilst trying to clamp down on illegal migration, what's been pointed out is that the problem is that those who wish to come to the UK, either as refugees or as economic migrants, are facing barriers to that. And so if you don't have those legal routes to enter the UK, then you only leave the option of illegal entry into the UK. So that seems to be part of the problem here, is that you need to deal not just with the symptom of the problem, the fact that people are coming illegally in a very dangerous way, becoming victims of people traffickers and so on. You need to deal with the reasons behind it, and that is a complex issue. It's a mixture of different things. It's a mixture of economic pull factors, as well as those people who are fleeing persecution and coming to the UK as refugees. So I think he's right to say in the interview that it is a very complex problem, but that does mean it's going to take complex solutions.
It is complicated, you're right, and divisive as ever. Dr. Nigel Fletcher, thank you so much indeed, a political analyst from London.
Thank you. Indian
Prime Minister Modi has discussed embassy security with his UK counterpart Rishi Sunak over a phone call. Well, New Delhi has expressed concerns about protests by Khalistani separatists outside the Indian High Commission in London and also elsewhere in the US and Canada. In a telephone conversation with Rishi Sunak, the Indian Prime Minister called for strong action against anti-India elements by the UK government. As per a readout of the call from Sunak's Downing Street office, the UK Prime Minister condemned the incident as unacceptable violence. The UK's Prime Minister office added he stressed that extremism has no place in the nation and updated on the steps taken to ensure the security of Indian High Commission staff. Well, British Foreign Minister James Cleverly had condemned the violence last month. Thursday's call was the first official discussion between Narendra Modi and Rishi Sunak about this incident. Well, the two leaders are also due to meet at the G7 summit in Japan next month, where India is a special invitee, and the G20 in India as well later on this year for that one. Well, after the protests in London, the Indian government removed external security, including barricades placed outside the UK's mission and High Commissioner's residence in New Delhi. On Wednesday, Indian officials conveyed concerns about a meeting of Interior Ministry officials from both countries in New Delhi. Well, in the meeting, the Indian side requested better cooperation with Britain to tackle the misuse of the UK's asylum status by pro-Khalistani elements. Okay, to France now then, and the French President Emmanuel Macron. He received a grand welcome during his visit to China. This is after his visit. Macron said that Europe should not be a follower of either Washington or Beijing and get caught up in any escalation over Taiwan either. He added that Europe should reduce its dependency on America. All these comments have triggered strong reactions from European politicians. Macron has never been shy of making controversial statements and provocative moves either. And while the idea that Europe should stand on its own feet has been widely endorsed before, suggestions that they should distance themselves from the US is being turned by some as impractical and unrealistic. Well, tensions between the US and China are still high, and China recently engineered a diplomatic peace deal between Iran and Saudi Arabia. This could be seen as a carefully crafted move with a motive to weaken US influence over the Gulf. And on the other hand, Macron's comments could be seen as China trying to exert its influence over Europe. And European officials are hitting back at Macron for his controversial statements. Well, the German foreign minister, who is on a visit to China, reacted to Macron's statement and said Europe is united in its policy towards Beijing. She also said that Europe must not turn a blind eye to the tensions between China and Taiwan. She said a military escalation in the region would be a worst-case scenario for the global economy. Okay, Boris Pistorius, the German defence minister, also hit out at French President Emmanuel Macron. He said the EU is also able to speak on foreign and security policy and to determine its own positions. Well, he turned Macron's warning Europe against a vassal for the US as unfortunate. Pistorius said driving wedges between various European stances only helps Chinese foreign policy in the end. Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte said that the US is an indispensable ally. He also said without the US's support, it was inconceivable that Ukraine could withstand the waves of violence of the past year. Well, the Polish Prime Minister, who is on a visit to Washington, has slammed EU leaders like Macron for seeking trade contacts in Beijing. He said their aspirations to sell EU products in China at a high geopolitical cost were short-sighted. He said he doesn't understand the concept of European strategic autonomy if it meant they were shooting themselves in the knee. Well, Lithuania's foreign minister also made scathing attacks on the idea that Europe can persuade Xi Jinping to intercede with Putin and de-escalate the situation in Ukraine. He said he recognises the benefits and necessity of transatlantic unity, but said he doesn't suggest begging for dictators to help secure peace in Europe. Well, reacting to Macron's China, who welcomed the French president with pomp and show, termed his comments as brilliant. Well, some say China is using Macron's stance to drive a wedge between the US and its allies across the Atlantic in Europe. Bernard Arnault and LVMH, the company which owns Louis Vuitton, are making the headlines yet again. LVMH, the biggest business in Europe by market value, is currently among the top 10 corporations globally as well. Despite fears of a global recession, demand, though, for luxury products has surged. Well, shares of the company spiked around 5% after the company's first quarter results beat estimates. The company's market cap is just shy of $500 billion now. Well, should the company achieve that feat, it would be the first European company to do so. Nevertheless, it is among the top 10 most valuable companies in the world. The shares of LVMH are expected to continue as Chinese shoppers indulge in spending after the pandemic. Well, investors see the company and its French luxury competitors as the equivalent of big tech in the US. The luxury goods firm has, on average, given over 20% of returns annually for the past decade, while strong demand for Louis Vuitton and Moet products has resulted in a higher share price. That has increased the fortune of the company's founder, Bernard Arnault. Well, according to Bloomberg's Billionaires Index, Arnault's net worth is nearly $200 billion. He is the wealthiest billionaire in the world, with Elon Musk in the second position now. Okay, so buying a car and driving it has always been a rather simple affair. Some would say pay for it and get behind the wheel. Well, okay, so if you're feeling hot, then you just switch on the AC, don't you? But want to enjoy music? You just play your favourite tracks, okay? But it seems now that automakers don't want your experience to continue to be this smooth. They now want you to pay for features you use in your car. Yeah, that is right. So car makers, they are blocking functionality, the software. So pay some dollars and the car company will then unblock the desired feature for you. The latest announcement, it comes from Ford. Now, for the first time in Britain, owners of the Ford Mustang, they will be able to legally drive with their hands off the wheel on approved roads. How? Well, with the help of Ford's system, it allows motorists to switch to self-driving mode. The new feature uses radar and cameras to adjust speed and change position in a driving lane. But note, if you want to access this feature, you will have to pay a subscription fee of $22 a month. Now, Ford is just one example of this. Various other automakers are keen on providing subscription-based features to the car owners. For instance, if you want to enjoy the heated seats in a BMW, you will have to buy a subscription. It costs $18 a month. Now, other car companies such as Toyota, Audi and Volkswagen have also jumped on the bandwagon of this one. Some are charging car owners for driver assist features. Others are making them pay extra for voice recognition facilities as well. There are also subscriptions for automatic high beams and remote start. While most subscription plans are currently limited to luxury cars, industry analysts believe that subscriptions could soon come to mass market vehicles as well. Automakers want to rake in billions of dollars and open new revenue streams to fund their expensive dreams of electric, connected and vehicles. It seems the future of cars is a subscription nightmare. What do you think? That's all from me here in London. Thank you for your company. Do stay tuned to WION. More international headlines coming up for you shortly, and have a fantastic weekend. Goodbye.
Many other